You hear the screeching of an owl, you hear the wind begin to howl. You know there's zombies on the prowl, and it's terror time again. They've got you running through the night. It's terror time again, and you just might die of fright. It's a terrifying time.
Oh boy, the long-awaited multiplayer release has finally come. And while it's a rough test build, it's glorious to have our friends back along with us for the journey. No more relying on derpy AI survivors. It's time to bring our even dumber friends in to act as human shields for us who have been playing the I will back up my save version this whole time. But before we begin, I'd like to thank Katophoenix for her artwork on today's video. Now let's discuss what's new, shall we? Now keep in mind, this isn't a proper I will back up my save build. This is an even more niche of a test build. So updates here are not as numerous as they are in one of those builds, but what they have added is quite a worthwhile expansion. So let's begin with the obvious one. Multiplayer is back, bitches! That's right. Now everything that's within Zomboid can be experienced again with friends. Feed your friends to the horde, assassinate them, cripple them so you can flee from the new city expansion, or you can even help one another to survive if you're feeling especially charitable. Now you can play with up to 16 players in dedicated servers or co-op, and now you can really drive home that roleplay aspect in Zomboid, and not just have to do a jack-of-all-trades sort of character. As now you and your whole team can specialize in one or two skills instead of trying to do everything in one person. Now this isn't all that's new though. One of the new features I'm really excited for is a proper mini and in-game map. Now you don't have to rely only upon the map project online. Now you've got vanilla mini-maps that show the areas around you, as well as your character. But the really interesting thing, that's gotta be the new map icon. This opens a huge map of the entire game, but it's all shrouded in a fog of war. To see everything, you'll have to explore the map or find in-game maps, which will add the different regions to it as you read them. But for places without maps, you'll still have to manually map them out. This does come with the benefit that you can mark this map like the older maps. So you can say mark your base or loot points or friends' bases, maybe places you hit. And you can still use the other maps on their own, so you don't have to say go through the entire game map if you just want to look at your local region, but it still acts like the big map. So it still shows where you are and you can still put markings down on it. Another nice thing is the big map shows where you are at all times, so getting lost won't be as nearly of a big of an issue for new players, which thank God, because the next topic we're going to discuss definitely needs it. But before we move on, I'd like to discuss the features of the map. You can also adjust the view from either an isometric look at the map or an overhead view. But now, finally added is the big kahuna. Oh lord, it's a chunk of a city. That's right, Louisville is finally in game, and dear god is it huge and is it infested. You thought West Point was a nasty, dangerous place? Well, if West Point was the Nostromo from Alien, then Louisville is Hadley's Hope from Aliens. By that I mean while the original monster was a dangerous threat, now let's scale that up to hundreds of them. So yeah, be ready. Shit's about to get messy, and you better be ready to die. If you want to explore, head north of West Point and Valley Station, and as I said, be prepared to die. Now let's move on to the final two major changes. There's been added a new search and forage modes. Search mode, when used indoors, will help you to scan environments for items lying around, maybe as parts of events, or maybe you just put down those bullets and now you can't quite find them. But search mode gets a lot more interesting with foraging. Now instead of going into a menu and just letting the game auto search for you, you have to now manually search the forest for things while in search mode. When you find something, you'll see it appear with a question mark above it. Click the question mark to pick up the item. which will give you the loot and the foraging XP. Personally, I like this new foraging system. It makes it more interactive and less just sit back and wait for the game to give you shit. Plus, it also means you can't just sit back, fast forward time and let it roll. I'm definitely a fan of this. Maybe they'll implement something like this for fishing, like where you have to watch the bobber and when it goes down, yank the rod up. But now, let's wrap up my final thoughts on this major test build, shall we? Well, let's be honest, I'm stoked as hell with this new build. Not only do we have multiplayer back, but we also have a host of new and kick-ass features, as well as the long anticipated and largest city in the game. Fuck yeah, I am stoked with this update, especially after looking at the map of the game online. It looks to be about 2 times as big as Raven's Creek, which is one of the larger map mods. I mean, sure, the update's not as polished and filled with smaller things like a proper I will back up my save snapshot, but we got a Christmas present in the form of motherfucking Louisville. Hell yeah, Christmas came early this year and so did I. Now let's get out there, crack some skulls, get some loot, and die again. If you want to join in, then open your Steam properties for Zomboid, go to betas, and choose B41 multiplayer. Then you're all set to join everyone else in the madness. I hope you've enjoyed this video. This has been Core, and I'll see you next time. Thanks again for all the support, and be sure to show Kato your love. You'll be seeing her more on the channel soon.